Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag my voiceover right into the comp window. This is just an alternative way of doing things. Likewise, you can drag it down here if you like. So I'm going to throw the audio right there. And let me go ahead and extend my work area all the way to the end. Yours might not be there, but mine was. I'm going to twirl down the audio until I see the waveform. Now, as usual, I'm going to keep my actual playback of my audio off, so you won't hear my voiceover in this particular lesson, but you can see the waveform for the audio. Now, the waveform is very helpful when you want to play certain elements. So what you can do is listen to the audio. Just go ahead and click right here if you want to do a RAM preview of the audio. And then if you need to adjust your volume, you can use these sliders right here in the audio panel. And of course, this is your decibels, and you can change that here as well. So I can use this slider down here in the timeline, or I can use these controls here. I can use these guys to independently change different channels of audio as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the very first element that we need, which will be, of course, our space or the stars. So I'm going to drag my star field right here into my timeline. And I'm going to animate this. I want to have it rotating a little bit. So I'm going to hit the R on the keyboard for the rotation property. And I'm going to enable our new friend, Auto Keyframe. And I'll go ahead and turn it on right here as well. I'm going to just go to the end of the animation. And I'm going to rotate this a little bit. Now I'm going to do it here because it's a little easier since I really can't grab these things without zooming out. So in this case, Auto Keyframe is not necessary, but for moving things like the ship and other things, that might be handy. I'll go ahead and hit home on my keyboard, and I'll hit the space bar. And as you can see, a nice slow movement of the stars. If you look at the last keyframe here, I only rotated it just a little bit, about 27 degrees, so I don't have a 360 motion, which would be too fast for space as far as this intro. So nice and slow. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in the saucer. And I'll just throw it right into the timeline itself. And I'm going to hit S on my keyboard, and I'll scale this down. I'm going to go ahead and temporarily turn that off because I don't want to keyframe this scale. And I'll move this over here, all right, just off camera like that. And then I'm going to move about 5 seconds in, and I'm going to turn on the position property by hitting P. And I'm going to grab this guy and move it into frame like so. Go ahead and hit the home key, and I'll deselect everything by clicking in a blank area, and I'll hit the space bar to preview. Pretty high tech so far. Okay, now the cool thing about what we're going to do is we're going to actually do some editing right inside of After Effects. And we talked about how to edit different things. Now in the case of the saucer, I want it to go into another position at the end of this little segment here. So I'm going to take the end or the tail, and I'm going to cut it like so. Now the star field, I don't mind it remaining there, but as you can see here, when I move past this in the timeline, the saucer goes away. And at this point, I can actually add a different saucer. So we'll bring him in again into the timeline. And we're going to reposition him so he starts right there. And let me go ahead and extend the tail, or rather remove some of the tail there, like so. And he's going to actually come into view. So let's go ahead and animate the scale of this guy. So I'm going to reduce the scale, right, like so. And I'm going to add a keyframe, and he's going to come at us a little bit, like so. So when I hit home on my keyboard, and let's go ahead and take a preview of what it looks like so far. Okay, so at this point, I think I want him to pass by that planet. So what we're going to do now is, once again, we're going to pull that tail back, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move over 1 frame, or we can even go a little further after we add the planet in. So let's go ahead right about here and drop the planet in. So we'll go ahead and drop him right into position. And I'm going to move it just above the star field, like so. So we can still see the ship, but I'm also going to scale the planet back a little bit as well. So let's go ahead and hit S on the keyboard and make that pretty small. Because if you look at the intro for Star Trek, when it first approaches the planet, it's pretty tiny. So I'm going to go to the frame where the ship's going to vanish and approach the planet. And for the planet, once again, we're going to take this and only have it appear where it's supposed to. So far, so good. Now, I'm going to, in this new shot here, have the ship approach the planet. So we'll go ahead and drag the ship out again. And this time what we're going to do is scale it this way. So we're going to animate the position first. So let's go ahead and hit P on the keyboard. Put the timeline or the stopwatch on. And we're going to simply move over a little bit in the timeline and move the ship heading towards the planet. And we're also going to scale it too. So let's go ahead and rewind that. And we're going to hit the S on the keyboard. And we're also going to enable the stopwatch. And as he moves towards the planet, we're going to scale him down. And let's go ahead and scrub and see how that looks. Pretty good so far. Now, as you can see, we can see a little bit of the other ship there, but that's not really a problem. Just go ahead and cut some of that other ship out so we don't see this, and we'll go ahead and continue in the next part.